Back to one of the biggest stories that's been around a while now, the Manchester United story, Rob. And again, you guys led with that this morning for the opening chat. Man United 0, Bournemouth 3 is a stunning scoreline. God, blimey. It was only midweek, Rob, where we're like,
Chelsea,
that was good.
Yeah.
That was bright, attacking play, and that's more like it, front foot. And they gave up some chances. We said that, to be fair, in midweek. And this was one of those situations, Rob, where Bournemouth now have got confidence. They've got a manager that's figured things out a little bit, but this game was very much like a counter-attacking plan for them. Very well organised, very tight, and looked very, very sharp on the counter-attack. And Man United right now, Rob, in their desperation to get on the front foot, to get the attacking players on there, to get Old Trafford bouncing, there's still a little bit of question over balance, midfield balance, defenders getting caught out of position. And it's just when you see the scoreline, Rob, it's like, I think for me now that closes off the right. And again, I hope to be proved wrong. That closes off the rough start from Man United. Erik ten Hag's finding a way to dig himself out of a difficult hole. Here we go. There's some changes. Certain players out. This is going in the right direction again. Yeah. Well, I just think now it's not, and it can't. And there's going to be good days. But sadly, those good days aren't going to continue whilst this squad is how it is right now. And I don't change what I said on the last podcast, Rob. And I remember it very vividly that let's wait to the end of the season for Erik ten Hag. If they found a way to get into the European competition, then he continues for me. If he doesn't, it's time to make a switch. And I saw Phil Neville today, Rob, was kind of. Was probably against that, saying that let's not fire this guy. Let's what we've done all the other times. Let's keep Erik ten Hag, like he's trying to do the right things, and there's of course that's Phil's opinion, and of course there's some truth in that. But even with the players that's available to Erik ten Hag now, Rob, and I'll throw it back to you. That's not right, is it? To lose 3-0 at home to Bournemouth, even when the squad isn't maybe what everybody expects it to be. That's pretty poor, and again, I'll go back to my, for me, if the end of the season they're not qualified for the Champions League, then somebody else has a go at it. And there's going to be big changes, I think, with Jim Ratcliffe buying in. I think he is going to tear it up and start it again in terms of the backroom directors and etc., the recruitment, which absolutely has to happen. Because this all goes back to bad recruitment of the squad. But the Erik ten Hag question, Rob, is going to continue.
And I don't think he'll get answered till Jim Ratcliffe comes in the building. The 25%, if that's the ownership, comes in. We will like to believe he's going to run the football division. The Glazers have less to do, which I think can only be a good thing, a positive thing for Man United. The biggest decision he's going to make, Rob, the biggest decision he's going to make when he walks through the door, and I would assume, and we talked about it a little bit off air with Rebecca and Phil, I would assume Jim Ratcliffe is the kind of man who's assessing everything before he goes in the door. The biggest decision he's going to make, because in my opinion, and I had it a little publicly today, we're at the stage of it needs a rebuild, it needs a start. We can't keep saying, this week good against Chelsea. You beat Chelsea, you win Manager of the Month, you win Player of the Month, you win Goal of the Month, and then you put in a performance like that against Bournemouth, who scored 3 goals, 3-headed goals, no reply, lack of interest, effort, all the things we've seen, Rob. It's not like, to me, it's like, let's stop kidding ourselves around. Let's all just say what's on our mind. Let's say what really, this thing needs a blow up and an absolute restart. So, the big decision for me, Rob, is does Jim Ratcliffe think Erik ten Hag is the man to rebuild this football club? That is the biggest decision he's going to make when he walks into the door. If he is, and then, give him the right resources, give him the right setup of team behind him, go and start building buy some players and build what you want to build. Where I don't know, I've got to be honest, is how Jim Ratcliffe is viewing Erik ten Hag at the moment and the job he's doing with a group of players who should be doing much more. I want to throw this one back at you, Rob, as well, because I kind of was... Last night I'm thinking to myself, how can United be like, have good days and bad days in the same week, Newcastle, Chelsea, Bournemouth, and be the only team with a negative goal difference in the top 10, and the only team that hasn't got a draw all season. I was trying to think, not getting a draw, what does that mean? kind of means on good days when we're playing and we fancy it and everything, we'll win. And on the other days, actually, we don't turn up. We don't have I mean, in those days where you're not great, but you scrap your way back and get a 1-1 draw, 2-2 draw or something. United don't seem to have those days.
Well, they don't. And there's a stat that came through with Opta after the game, Rob, and it was Man United have conceded 3 or more goals in 5 different home games in all competitions this season. The last time they did that, they did so in more different games, was in 1962-63. So when it's not going right, they collapse, like they just fold and concede a ton of goals, and there has been a lot of those. And I don't know. So what you're saying is they're all into try and attack, and if it works, great. They score goals and win. Yeah. If it doesn't work, then they get caught on the other end of it. I mean, it's just not. I mean, this is not Erik ten Hag's kind of first few months here. I mean, he's had plenty of time to assess what he's got, assess what style to go with his team. I mean, there was boos, the whole Martial starting instead of Rasmus Højlund. Højlund comes on, to good cheers and boos with Martial. I mean, I don't know, and you're right, Rob, and we're going over old ground a little bit probably here. I think you're right. I think Jim Ratcliffe will have a sense of. I mean, I think the most likely for me is that he'll continue. It depends when again, for me, it'd be the end of the season. But if you're Jim Ratcliffe and you're thinking most of the problems, and to be fair, most of the problems are through recruitment, then if they get that correct, and if better players start to come in, then maybe he is the guy. There's 3 parts to it. I think we said it on the show, Rob, last weekend. There's the tactical side of it, and I think he's a smart tactical coach, though maybe we're going back on what we've just talked about, there's a man management side, which is a big question mark. Big question mark about man management, falling out with players, the Jadon Sancho thing, how he's handling that. And then there's recruitment. And if the recruitment gets better, then maybe the thought is that he is the man to do it. I should not mention this, mate, but I can't help but think it. And I mentioned it at the last one. The game we just reviewed, and in thinking about people who might come in instead of Erik ten Hag, Rob, Unai Emery, and I'm only chucking out there as a bit of fun, right? Villa fans, don't get too crazy about it, but just listen to this. In terms of his experience, his ability to win competitions, domestically and internationally. He's been around the Premier League a little bit now. He's been in a big club at the Premier League and Arsenal. Didn't work very well. He's showing himself now what a superb coach he is. I think his attention to detail, his work ethic is perfect for Manchester United. It's hypothetical, mate, but if there was going to be somebody other than Erik ten Hag, because people have said to me, well, who? You keep talking about maybe him leaving the club, or who's going to be next? Would Unai Emery be an option for Man United, and would he, I mean, I'm sure he's got a brilliant connection with those fans, and I'm not sure he'd want to leave for the spotlight of Man United. But is it a terrible shout? Unai Emery could be targeted for Man United?
Not a terrible shout at all, and it's funny you say it. So me and Phil, after the game yesterday, were chatting away. Phil's obviously Manchester United through and through legend, and we were talking about possible views, and I kind of threw it to him. Could they go and get an Unai Emery? And Phil came up with a very, very good argument as to why that might not be the right thing. That Unai Emery tends to do it with a set of clubs that are a little bit below that very top echelon. And so moving him to Manchester United might be the same as a Ten Hag. His Villarreal success,
the PSG thing,
PSG, Sevilla, his success there. So maybe, because he said, it's interesting, and it was fascinating having him around, Rob, where he said, in those clubs, David Moyes was probably, when Moyes went in, he said he completely didn't realise how big and how different this job is to what he had at Everton, which was a big club and he'd done well, but he said Manchester United just absolutely was, blew him away. And he wonders whether Unai Emery might fall into that category. Because I also said from a coaching point of view, and I know, again, we're just throwing names out and saying, I think from a coaching point of view, Roberto De Zerbi interests me, Rob, as a coach who can... When I look at what Brighton have in terms of players and what he's turned those players into, as well as the end product and the whole build-up of play, I think that I look at Maguire and I look at Luke Shaw and I look at them and think, could he not make better use of these players than now? Again, if he's the right man, whether it be too big for him, he's got a personality, he's a bit fiery, he's a bit more media friendly maybe than Ten Hag. But listen, I'm sure this debate's going to go on, and we can chuck loads of names at it. But it doesn't take away from the biggest decision Jim Ratcliffe's going to make when he walks in that door is: does he back Ten Hag with the right structure to get it right, or does he say, actually, I've seen what's happened over the last 18 months, and I think I'm going to go with my own man.
Just quick before we move on, Rob, we've got to give Bournemouth some credit here, by the way. And Unai Emery, that's really starting to figure it out. 19 points now, Rob, and playing really good football. I thought there were signs a few weeks ago. I think I said quite early, they're playing a little bit better now. And I think, there was a little bit of a different one today. It wasn't today, against Manchester United. It was very counter-attacky, but very, very efficient in doing it. So he's really, really found his feet. And Bournemouth, it was a big call, wasn't it? And I remember we were always like, well, how's he going to do with Gary O'Neill at Wolves? And that all of a sudden looks, well, they got the same points after the same amount of games, Wolves and Bournemouth. So maybe Bournemouth, the ownership will start to feel more pleased or happy about the big switch they made in the summer. But no, full credit to Bournemouth. It's not easy for Bournemouth, old Bournemouth, to do what they're doing in the Premier League. So well done, Earle, and well done, Bournemouth.
Yeah, I think it was one of those where Erik Ten Hag should actually have gone to the Manager of the Month award and give it to Earle on his way back to Bournemouth. Actually, you deserve it more than me, but hey ho, Manager of the Month didn't do too well for Erik Ten Hag.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. And for even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock. And be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend on USA Network and on Peacock. We will see you there.